to speak on the topic thriving through the movies. Thriving through the movies is the one and only Joke Silva, MFR.
Bishop Feb, Reverend Laurie, Reverend Ruth, and Reverend Frida are special aburus of mine. We're constantly in touch. And actually, very recently, I think it was before the pandemic, I had just, my sister, she's late now. I met with Reverend Ruth in New York. I had just done like a round trip to dash off, go see my sister she was in hospital in England. And, I spent like 2 days with her, and I was back in Nigeria to fly the night I arrived to New York, and I wasn't sure whether I was ever going to see her again. And my husband's illness had already started as well. So I saw Reverend Ruth in New York, and it was on the street. And she saw me, we saw each other, and we hugged each other. It was a nice, tight hug. And she goes, "Auntie, the heaviness in you, this is not you. What's going on?" And we went out, had coffee. I told her everything that was happening. And we had a long prayer ministering session that just lifted my heart. Until today, Reverend Ruth is my online coach. Do you follow her online on Instagram, where she'll sign up and say, "Do with it what you will. These are my thoughts for today. Do it with it." It's always so beautifully crafted. When your father has done so much work, you see the thousands of years of generations of blessings, emanating. And then I'd like to especially greet our host, Reverend Chris Ubamadu. Thank you. And Madam, thank you for inviting me today. I feel so honored that you think that I have anything to share. I think that's it's such a privilege, and I do not take it lightly. My topic, as you've heard, it's the Nigerian entertainment industry, opportunities and trends. I'll just hold on here. Now, you're going to see me putting on my glasses and taking it off. I've reached that age, 60. I'm going to be 62 this year, where you're not sure whether it's long sight or short sight, so you wear the glasses, you take it off. Anyway, so right now it's staying on, but it might go off. Just bear with me. It says Nigerian entertainment industry opportunities and trends. My section of this broad topic is thriving through the movies. Now, what I'm going to try to do is to give you a broad overview of how movies are made, because I do not want to assume that we all know. I'm sure some of us know, but I don't want to assume that all of us know how movies are made. We will look at how, and then we will look at how we can thrive within the ecosystem of movies, believing that as we do that, we will touch on the opportunities and the trends. So, without much ado, I'll go straight into it. Now, there are three kinds of movies, broadly speaking, when we look at it from the economic aspect of movie making. You have what is known as the low-budget movie, you have the medium movie, and then you have the big budget movie. Now, all of them, as you can hear, there's budget at the end of it. So we're looking at the financial aspect of the movies. Low budget, medium, big budget. Now, for us in Nigeria, when we compare ourselves to the rest of the world, what we make are low budget movies. In other parts of the world, a low-budget movie is $100 million. Anything under anything under $1 million is a low-budget movie. Now, in Nigeria, when we translate that, even at bank rate, it's almost 400 million naira. And 400 million naira was probably what Gangs of Lagos, Goldfish, that's what it was produced for. Which for us is actually a big budget movie. I mean, the outlier of that would have been Half of a Yellow Sun that was produced several years ago, and it was produced for $10 million. Now, the people who came together to produce that movie were all Nigerians, but $10 million to produce a movie that didn't make the money, a fraction of that money back, sent all the investors into hiding. There were several mistakes that were made. You know, when you look at a project like Half of a Yellow Sun, a very successful book by Chimamanda, and it was globally successful. So it wasn't just successful in England, but it was globally successful. So those who were behind, putting the money together for it, Yewande Sadiku, she was the person who raised the funds for it, believed very strongly that, against benchmarking against other film industries, $10 million, what's that? That's a medium budget movie, But it didn't make a fraction of its investment back. Part of the problem with that was that Half of a Yellow Sun is a very Nigerian story. An incredibly Nigerian story that dealt with a time in our recent past that is a sear, a wound that really hasn't healed over the years. And it was an opportunity to look at that wound in a way that would be easily accessible, for the audience. But unfortunately, there were some things that I believe were done wrong with that movie. First of all, the lead characters, apart from Chiwetel, were all foreigners. Nigerians could not connect. And the thing with us, now I think for those who invested in it, they were thinking that, yes, let's give it that international flavor and bring in, the big African American stars to give it saleability. But the target of that story are Nigerians. If Nigerians cannot see Nigerians in the lead roles, they lose interest. And that's one of the things that our industry has done for us as a people. Nollywood has first of all made it possible for Nigerians to be able to tell the Nigerian story, the African story, in a way that brings the entire black race together. It was Sembene Usman who said it years ago. Sembene Usman, the writer who became the movie maker. He always used to produce, God's bits of wood and things. He used to, but he was always funded by the French government, and it always ended up in a library. It didn't get, distribution around the world. And he was the one who actually said that. He said that Nigeria's Nollywood model has made it possible for Africa to tell its story. And I think that's huge. What we have done in Nollywood is to project the Nigerian brand, to project the African brand, to project the African brand in such a way. And I think that's the core of what our kind of storytelling has done to the entire black race, is that we do it with no apology for our humanity. Every other black race, when they tell their stories, they're telling their stories with some kind of baggage. They're carrying with them some kind of baggage that they feel they must include in their storytelling. And so Black America now is moving towards, they're so impressed, they're so grateful to Nigeria for that, for giving them that permission. That's what Nigeria has done, has given them the permission to tell their stories any which way they want to tell it, without having to lean on the baggage of, not that there is anything wrong in telling stories about the years of slavery, about the years of oppression, but in moving forward, we've looked at the past, but we must move forward and we must craft the future that we want to see. So that is what we have been able to do with these low-budget movies. When the outlier of Yellow in Half of a Yellow Sun came through and they moved back, then we went back to our kind of making movies which are really low budget. There is the Gangs of Lagos, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the big budget movies for us here, but really it is a low budget movie compared with the rest of the world, and they did an amazing job. That's where I stand. I think Gangs of Lagos is an amazing film, and I'll discuss it later if I have not gone past, thank you, if I have not gone past my timing. So, like I was saying, we have the low, medium, and the medium, and then the big budget movies. But what is interesting about all of them, whether you're big budget, you're low budget, you're medium budget, they're all done in the same way. All of them. It's just the finance that's different. A low budget movie, a medium budget movie, big budget movie, all start with they go through the process, the same process: pre-production, production, and post-production, and then distribution. That's the process for every single one of them. It's the same for telemovies. It's the same for whether you're going online. It's the same for whether you're going to the cinema. Once it's motion picture, it's pre-production, production, post-production, and then distribution. So let's look at these very quickly. What do we mean by pre-production? Pre-production is everything that you do before you go on set to start shooting. Now, what pre-production is all about, and pre-production usually starts out with the script. The script is one area that I feel that there's just so much room for people who have a facility with language to get into. If you have a facility with language, no matter the language, because I think that is also part of our challenge in Nigeria. Because a lot of times when we're writing scripts, we're writing scripts in the common language, in English, which really for all of us is a second language. And so we think in our native language, and then we write in we write in English, and we don't translate very well. So there are some people who understand English, who understand the nuances of English, who write very well, but there are not many. And because there are not many, there are not enough of them to mentor younger people who are coming into the industry. So there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of opportunity for training. Any area of all through the value chain of our industry, if you train, you must. Once you train, then it is easier for you to function within the industry. So you start out with what is known as the script. Now, the script is it's the story, it's the backbone of the entire project, and it will go through several iterations. A lot of people believe that once they've written the story, they've written the dialogue, they've written produce. No. It must go through several iterations. You must read it and read it again, and let me give you an example. Gangs of Lagos again. I'll use Gangs of Lagos. Gangs of Lagos was written 10 years ago. A lot of people don't believe that. It was written 10 years ago and filmed in 2021. But when we look at the past elections that we have, we'll think that it was written after these elections. That is life imitating art. And what happened was that when the writer and Jade Oshiberu, who were, Jade Oshiberu, the director, and the writer came together, they looked and they kept working and working and working and working on the script. until they had something that they could work with. But invariably, the script, you keep working on the script until your last day of shoot. Until your last day of shoot. Because there will always be something, because you have shot that, something will have to change slightly. There was a film that I shot in France several years ago called Secret Laughter of Women. And it was my first time of experiencing that. I arrived in Antibes. They gave me my script. It was white. It was the story I had read in Nigeria. And I flew over to play this part. And, only for day 2, it was white and yellow. Day 3, white, yellow, purple. Day 4, white, yellow, purple, green. And it just kept getting all colors of the rainbow because they kept adapting and changing those things. And as they changed, the color of whatever section that they did, that they changed with it. So, but once you have gotten your script, it is that script, that is the Bible from which you then do your budgeting. And when you budget, for God's sake, always over budget, never under budget. You over budget to then, when you carry out your project, you try and bring it in under budget. Because when you go out looking for money, people will give you money the first time. If you go back the second time, it's not likely that you're going to get it. So always budget every line item, every single thing. Now, the important thing with that also, if we look at Gangs of Lagos, for instance, which was one thing that I loved that they did, which is something that we keep saying to all the big boys, all the big entrepreneurs who want to do the film on their own. How do you want to put down 400 million on your own? You can't. A lot of people want to put down that money, or they'll say, can't you do it for 50 million? My film is costing me 400 million. You say I should do it for 50 because you can't afford the 400 million. There needs to be a coming together. If you look at all the credits, the executive producer credits of Gangs of Lagos, there are almost 20 of them. And a lot of that 20 are young people who brought in 1 million, 5 million, 20 million. They just came together and they did that amazing film. And that's the way to go when you want to fund a movie. Come together. Executive producers should come together. So that's one of the opportunities that you find. Now, what the script also gives you is it gives you an idea of the kind of actors you will need, the kind of costuming you will need, the kind of art design. And art design is looking at the ambience, the world of that film. Like here in this room, the world of this room has so many blue pillars and a white ceiling and all that. Now, in Gangs of Lagos, what you see is that it's incredible artwork that gives you a sense of Isaleko, but Isaleko in richness, in the richness of the people who make it up. So you get a sense of that Brazilian, the Cuban, the Aworis in the coloring, in the artwork, in the art design. The art design of that film is just out of the park. That's an area that we don't pay a lot of attention to in our movies, but we're getting there. So that's what the script does for you. It gives you an idea too of the location. Where do you want to shoot? Where do you want to shoot? Gangs of Lagos was Isaleko, but one of the things we do nowadays is that we shoot in, Alibaba mentioned it, where we shoot in people's houses, we shoot in apartments that are yet to be let. But the days of that are going and they are going fast. Because, I'm sorry, you ain't going to come and shoot in my flat. It's not going to happen. Because I know the number of people that you bring into a shoot. There may be 2 people in that scene, but to shoot that scene, there are probably about 20 other people that are coming with it. And 20 people who will put their hand on my wall, put their hand there, do this, block the loo. I know. So that time is going. We need to build our own studios, our own sound stages, just like someone like Tyler Perry has done, one of the biggest sound stages in the entire world. And the thing with sound stages is that they are usually facades. They're made up of facades. So you will have, I'll use the film that I did in France again. All the interiors of France were shot in Ealing Studios in London. So all we did in France were the exteriors. Exteriors showing, just giving you the ambience of France, of a place called Grasse in France, where they make all the perfumes and all that. And so we got the facade, but the interiors of that film were shot in Ealing Studios. And they were built. They will build the room, they will build my room, they will build my kitchen, they will build the hairdressing salon, they will build all the various places that we needed. And it gives you control. It helps you to be able to make your movie at a pace that you want to make it. And the good thing about the fact that we are renting apartments is the fact that there are some apartments that you rent nowadays for $500,000 a day. For $500,000 a day, which is likely to be what you are going to rent a studio for. But a studio will then give you the freedom to do so many things that an apartment can't give you. So you'll get more value from a studio than from renting an apartment. So from there, from the script, you find out the kind of costumes and all that and all that and all that. After you have done the pre-production, then comes the production. What the production then does is to bring everybody to wherever the first location is, all the equipment that you need, and the director, everybody comes together. Now, what is important during production, and is very important, especially for the director, is to make sure that he covers as many angles as possible, because coming back to shoot some angles that you feel that you should have had is very difficult and very expensive. So it's what is called coverage. The director must shoot as much as possible. Now, one of the problems that we also have, one of the challenges, let's not call it problems, that we have in Nigeria, is that a lot of our directors are technical directors. They are not artistic directors, which is a challenge. Now, if you're not an artistic director, please get a first assistant director who is artistic, because then he will help the actors. Actors cannot see themselves. Actors can only interpret their roles as far as they are able, as far as their imagination can go. So they need the director to tell them that, hey, Joke, don't open your mouth when you are angry here, because your teeth show and it makes you look as if you are smiling. As little as that. Now, again, I go back to Gangs of Lagos. You could see that Jade was an incredible artistic director, because some of the performances you got from the people who liked Chioma Okpotha? Jesus! Hey! Father Lord, that was an incredible performance when she saw her son, when she then was in the church. And that is the work between the director, the actor, and the cameraman. Because if the cameraman did not catch that performance, there was nothing anybody could do. There was nothing anybody could do. So it's the camera work, the actor and the director giving us an incredible performance. Then after you have finished on location, on set, location, I hope we get to talk about this later. Location, it requires incredible ethics. I hope we get to talk about that later. But after you're done on location, that's production. You then go to post-production. Now, post-production is where you do all the editing. You bring everything together. Now, with editing, you will get you bring all these various scenes together. Now, I think one of the greatest disservices that we do to ourselves in Nigeria is to pile our directors with so much work that they don't have enough time to edit their work. I was on a project some years ago for Rock TV. It was a beautiful, simple story about love between two young people, and something happened to them. They went apart and they met when they were older. And it was just such a beautiful coming together of these two old people. It was directed by Ronya Mann, but Ronya could not be there to edit the story. If you saw the finished edit, I cried. It wasn't what we shot. You know, so it's always important. There's always the director's cut. I mean, there's always the editor's cut, the first cut, the rough cut. Then then the director gets to see it, and then, changes shots and remembers something that they shot on set and says, no. The take that I want for this scene is this one. The editor is an important part in the value chain, because the editor is another person that adds his own vision to the story. But when you all work together in concert, you make magic. And, that part of post-production too is where you then voice, because there's times you're doing a scene on the beach and you get all this noise from the waves and all that. Of course, you can't hear what the people are saying. You have to go and do something that they call ADR, and you voice in the studio, and you get clearer sound. And that's where you also get the music design in post-production, the kind of music that you the audience, you're not aware of it, but there's music that's making you emote in certain ways on scenes. And then there's color correction. You can decide that this film, you want it to be something that's I want to do a film on Shoyinka or J. Pepper Clark's Ibadan, their poem Ibadan. It's talking about rustic dust at rooftops, rusty. So I will color. My coloration of that film will be in sepia, just to give that sense of the rusticity of that poem. So those are all the kinds of things that go on in post-production. Then you come to distribution. Key. You can do all the production, post-production, pre-production, do it to the highest level. If you don't have distribution, it will stay on your shelf. It will stay there. Now, we have some amazing distributors, and in the recent times, somebody help me out with this. Now I'm seeing 02. What's that saying to me? Okay, that's fine. I'm good. Okay, so, oh God, I lost my train of thought. Help me. Yes, so the kind of distributors we have in Nigeria, we have Film One, but we also have, in modern times, the streaming platforms that have made it easier for producers to be able to exhibit their works. The technology has done that for us. We've been able to the Netflixes, the Amazons, the HBO in the form of Showmax, so there's a wide range of opportunity for distribution. Of course, we have YouTube, and there's this lady called Shai Birunke who does quite a lot of distribution on platforms like that. And what those kinds of digital distribution has done for us is to give us a more global audience. So I've given you an idea of how movies are made. And in discussing that, I hope I have given you an idea of the kinds of opportunities that exist within the industry. It's an industry that's supposed to give us, it's an industry that rests on the mountain of celebration. If you know the Seven Mountain philosophy. The Seven Mountain philosophy, there's wisdom that, but there's something that Gosperella said. He's not here anymore. I think he's left. Which is the fact that what we do on the mountain of celebration is a ministry. Because we do not only hold a mirror up to the world, we also teach and we also heal. And it is important in the work that we do that we never forget that as Christians in the marketplace, That is our job. To not only be blessings, but to also be those who make a difference for our generation. And I'll stop here. Right on time.